Welcome, science friends, to using a codon chart and wheel. There are two different ways that you can sort of decipher this code of nucleic acid language into amino acid protein language. And the first way is called a codon chart. What you do is you start on the left and you go then to the top and finally to the right. And it tells us here in the chart, first letter, second letter, third letter, and where all of those intersect, that will be the amino acid for that codon. So let's start with an example, GCA. So we want to start first on the left here. We find the G section down at the bottom. So the first G rules out first U, first C, first A, and all of those amino acids. The next letter in our codon is a C, so we move to the top. Great. Now we know where those two things are going to intersect. It's one of those in that box of 4. And because we see all of those redundancies, we don't really need the last letter for this example, but just for the sake of using the codon chart, we go all the way over to the right and find the A, where all 3 of these letters intersect will give us the amino acid that is needed for our protein. So in this case, it's alanine. We're going to practice one more time. This one we need to use all 3 of our letters. So we start on the left, U, so it's going to be in that top section. Then we move to the second letter, another U. Now we know it's going to be within that first box, but we don't know if it's going to be phenylalanine or leucine. So we have to go on to our third letter here, C, and where all 3 of those intersect in that box is phenylalanine. Another way to decipher the code of codons into amino acids is using a codon wheel. I prefer the codon wheel. I think it's much easier to use than the chart. Most students also prefer the wheel, but it's important that you know how to use both of these tools. So our first example here is CAG. For the codon wheel, we start in the middle and then we work our way outwards based on the order of the bases. So if we're starting with C, now we're in that bottom right quadrant of our chart. Then we move on to A. Great, now we've got a slice. We don't know if it's going to be those 2, so we need to look at our last letter with G, meaning, hey, it's going to be glutamine, or GLU for short. One more example, GGU. We're going to start in the middle with that big G. Then we know it's in that top left quadrant. We continue on. Now we know it's going to be a second G. We don't really need the third letter for this because all 4 of those third letters code for the same amino acid of glycine, but just for the sake of going through the motions, we find the U, and that tells us our amino acid of glycine, or GLY for short. That was using a codon chart and wheel. I hope it helped.